I've got some family trip photos to share. And yes, they're in color. Right, I was recently in Yosemite and I shot black and white film, which is typical for me. And then right after that trip, I took my family to Vancouver, British Columbia, and I decided to shoot digital color. One of my favorite photographers, Stephen Schaub, had mentioned that he was trying out one of the Ricoh GR CCD cameras, which I have never shot a Ricoh GR, and I wanted to. Right, the original one came out in 1996 as a film camera, and they're now on their, I think, 16th iteration. Right, the new one is coming out, just came out September of 2025. And it was time that I tried one of these 200-gram masterpieces. And so I picked the same one that Stephen Schaub was having fun with, the Ricoh GR Digital 4. It's an aspect ratio of 4:5 using a CCD sensor, a small one, and the lens opens up to 1.9. And yeah, this was my first foray into the GR system, and yeah, my first time shooting digital color in a while. So yeah, let's take a look at the pictures. Why Vancouver? Right, my first graduate program was in Vancouver, and right, I grew up in Arkansas. I lost some family members, my grandma, my mother, to cancer in college, and had fallen into a depression, and really needed to take a big leap out of my environment. And I had a really good trip with my mom to the Pacific Northwest. And then also the graduate program that I was interested in was world renowned at UBC. So that's where I went. I lived there for 2 years, and I hadn't been back, so it had been a really long time, and here I am going back with my family. All right, the pictures. So my son George is enjoying this really comfortable chair. Ellery is enjoying an old typewriter. And we are in my friend's house, right? So I do have some people I know there. I was able to take advantage of some friends. I love this photo. Right, on the left you have George doing a happy dance. Right, look at his little face. You got Ellery striking a cool pose, and my wife is now enjoying the comfortable chair. This is shot at 1/25th of a second. The aperture is all the way open, 1.9, and this is an ISO of 400. And it looks really good all the way around. The colors look good. It's a lot of depth of field for 1.9 because of the small sensor. And the 1/25th looks pretty sharp except for the motion blur of my son dancing. So I really like that photo. My friend's house is built right up against these rocks, which was fun. You could actually go up these rocks to get to the second. Well, it wasn't really the second floor, was it? Oh, it was, yeah, to get to the second floor. Again, these colors look pretty darn good. This is ISO 400. Right, with a CCD, after 400 or after 800, definitely, right, your color quality and your noise drastically increase. But as long as you stay, right, under 800 or lower, the colors look really good. So this is an 800, and you can see that the colors are not quite as beautiful, but still pretty good. Yeah, so we went to go get donuts. Okay, that's how we started our first full day there. Yeah, 2 people decided to dress like pigs. There was no story to it other than this is just something they decided to do. My boys, right, picking out their donuts, which they were both happy about. This is Horseshoe Bay, so just a little bit outside of downtown, 20-ish minutes, right where you can catch the ferry. All right, my wife was setting them up for the photo, and I took one too. Now, this is a little action sequence here of 3 photos. So my wife sees them trying to do this, and she jumps in and says, no, you gotta change how you're gripping each other so that it's stronger. And then they do it. And my favorite part about this is how excited Barbara is here, watching them successfully pull this off. And I showed this to my kids, and they were like, Mom, it would have worked the other way too, or we were going to figure it out. But it's yeah, a neat little action sequence. I love these toys at the playgrounds, right? These are one of my favorite playground toys. Kids always love them at all ages. Fun for adults too. This is the aperture is at 4.5, and something I learned on the trip is like you get an incredible depth of field with this small sensor, and even this is almost starting to look too flat, like everything is equally sharp at all distances. And I wish I had shot more open than I did. Like this looks fine, but I would have preferred this to actually been probably a 2.5 or something. This is 1.9, right? And it evens, compared to shooting 35 millimeter, right? This almost feels like, right, 5.6 or something on a Leica 28. I like this picture, right? He was both like the license plate, but especially like the positioning on the front left of the car, right? That's what he was most interested in here. And this is ISO 400. Now this is my friend's house again, right? You go up this rock and you can get to what is one of the bedrooms. And the very top ceiling here is actually all glass, and it means that at nighttime it's really cool because you can see the stars. Right, and you look up to the top of the house and it's the stars. Right? So, and the excuse me, the beds were situated underneath there. All right, so you're sleeping underneath the stars. Yeah, everybody needs a hot tub like this, a cedar hot tub. So, yeah. This is ISO 200 f4, and again, it's already like f4 is already enough to give you, that much depth of field. Almost too much. Now this is a 1600 shot, which the colors did not look good. I did a conversion to black and white, and I edited this way too long trying to get it to satisfy me as a black and white photographer. And right, I think a lot of people would maybe see this and be like, oh, that looks pretty good. I cannot stand this. Right? I like the composition. I do not like the texture. And right, it's the digital, right, digital trying to look like black and white film. Right, I'm only using Capture One and the tools available there. I'm not up for running it through multiple programs. Right, but I wanted to show one example of 1600 as a black and white conversion. Yeah, and the cedar hot tub gives like a beautiful color underneath the water. My boys were enjoying like their white skin, right? And then you stick it into the water and it turns like this dark orange. And then I love these two shots. This one, I'll show you the next one too. right? Just like my happy boys in the hot tub. And this is also like a picture that I can't really take with my Leicas, right? This is really, really close. This is f4, right? You can see I focused on Ellery, and George got in front of him. And then here it's like, this is also f4. I'm focused on George, right? I took one of each boy in focus, and yeah, I like how those came out, and also like that's sort of a fun way to shoot that I usually can't do with my rangefinders. Okay, now we've jumped across the bay, and now we're in we're closer to the university. This is Jericho Beach, right? This is a place where I spent a lot of my time when I lived here, and you can see my shadow here, right? And so this was a place I used to go eat. It's right by the water. Right, more significantly for me, it was right by the sports fields where I played Ultimate Frisbee with a team called Furious George. And then this was, right, this is where you can eat. Right, we're getting my kids, for my kids, like this is the best orange cream soda they've ever had, right? That's what they remember about this moment. But it's a really cool place. It's in the yacht club. It's open to the public, right? This little really good food and pub, and you can watch the bay. I like this photo of my wife. I think she doesn't love it. She doesn't remember making the peace sign. I like it. Also like this cool bird back here. And then I just want to quickly show you, right, this is only a 10 megapixel camera, but like let's zoom in here. I'm adding some soft grain. I'm going to take that out, and then I'll just sharpen that up a little bit. And then I'll back out so you get a sense of the size of that. Let's go see downtown for a second. Yeah, so it's not infinite detail, right? It's not a 60 megapixel camera. But I never found myself wanting more detail, right? Okay. Yeah, the food was good. We did watch out for seagulls, so appreciated that sign. There was some sort of boat race on the bay that day, so just took advantage of sneaking up on some people. Here I snuck up on my own family. They rebuilt this pier since I lived there. It used to be much more rickety. And what my family is interested in is this guy. I don't know what these things are called, but right, there's self-propelled like surfboards that float on the water, right? But this guy was just learning, which I've seen people who can do this, but this was my first time to see somebody trying to learn how to do it. I really like this shot. This girl was all by herself, I think. I didn't see any parents around, and she was just chilling by the water. And then this guy, right, he's taking a break because he's exhausted from trying to do this. And then here he is. My son was interested in getting a close-up view, and he talked to us and told us about whatever this thing is. And then here he is trying, and you can see that, right, he made it maybe 30 feet from the dock, and that was going to be the end of him. So yeah, and it looked exhausting. It made me appreciate that you don't just buy these things and just go out on the water and fly around all over, right? It is also something like snowboarding that you have to figure out. I went to the Museum of Anthropology, which my recommendation there is to not actually pay and go in with kids, right? Instead, we went to the gift shop, and then we went around the building, and you can look inside, and there's cool things to see around the building. But right, with kids, like just skip the museum. But this is a $2,800 salmon bowl. I liked it, but I did not buy it. Again, I shot this, right? This is my black and white eye kicking in, and I took it thinking, oh, maybe I can convert it. And I think it does not look very good. I really don't like the gradation in the high tones, right? The digital sharpness. I can't look at this and enjoy it. So here's me thinking I'm being really discreet with my Ricoh GR. I'm not looking, and I'm kind of shooting from the hip, and I'm using snap focus, and but she knew what I was doing, and she's creeped out by me, and she's like, "Don't take pictures of me eating a sandwich." So not as sneaky as I thought I was being. We needed some goggles because we were going to go to the swimming pool. This is my old neighborhood, which I barely recognized. My kids were digging this little mustard character, and then Barbara's walking out with some really overpriced sunscreen and some goggles because we went to the pool. Now this is Kitsilano Beach, Kitsilano swimming pool. It's a public pool. I thought we'd be able to just go and pay and go, right? But that's not how the system works. We got there and the gate was shut and there weren't very many people inside, and we didn't really understand, but we just had to wait in a line for 30 minutes and catch the next opening, and we were a walk-in. Not only were we a walk-in for like $5 a person, but we were like the first people in. So now, yeah, this is the bathroom. Why'd I take this? Well, I think it's cool, and I like the color. And this is also ISO 800 with artificial lighting. So a good little test of the camera. Let me check the speed on that. Oh, yeah, 4/400th. So I could have shot this at probably ISO 100. And it almost makes me think that maybe this almost looks like natural light, but I don't remember there being natural light in this bathroom. Enough of the urinals. All right, the pool rules, right? I love this about Vancouver, right? So no smoking, no glass, no running, no loud music, and no roller skating, right? There are lots of roller skaters in Vancouver. This is, my son doing the slide, which was actually a lot of fun. This slide was way more fun than it looks. It kind of go around the corner pretty quick, and it's a little bit of a drop off. But also just shows you how big this Kitsilano swimming pool is, right? I would say we're a little bit past the midpoint, right? That lifeguard is the midpoint. Right? And so you just kind of see how giant this pool is. And it looks like no one's there. It does get more crowded than this. We were just on the early part of the entry window. I did go swimming with my kids. I didn't just photograph them. Ellery likes this picture because of how his hand looks all kind of wiggly and wavy. And then, yeah, my wife decided to get some sun. I think the colors look pretty good. I like this picture of my wife. I also like this picture of my wife. She is enjoying a glass of wine. We're back at my friend's house where we're staying. Here, right, I think this cloud is really cool. I go out there, I'm like, hey everybody, look at this cool cloud. And yeah, my kids are back in the hot tub. This is 2.5, and this is a lot of depth of field for 2.5. And even, I also like there actually is some out of focus areas in the background, and they look pretty good. Yeah. Now this is starting to get dark, right? It's basically almost nighttime, right? We've started a fire. This is 800, a 30th of a second, and 1.9. I just liked sort of the way the colors, right, were working together here. Right, my friend has a nice collection of rocks and minerals and gemstones. The colors on this tree, right, I really like it. This was ISO 400. Now this is like a classic Dan Mars shot, but I actually don't really like it, right? Because what I see here is a lost shot, right? If I had had my black and white film and my usual camera, I would have loved this photo. And instead, I'm sort of stuck with, I tried the black and white conversion, can't take it. So then I'm stuck sort of with a color, and then it just sort of fails. So all I see is disappointment in this photo. All right, we found a coffee shop, which was apparently like the hub for everyone that owns a nice car, which was fun for my kids to see cool cars, and for me, I enjoy a cool car now and then. So I'm not going to show you all the cars. I took a lot, and I don't want this to become like a car slideshow. These two cars definitely won the engine competition, right? They sounded amazing. Especially this, like, well, I'll get to it here in a second. Yeah, this was a real treat for my kids. Now this one, this is 1/10 of a second. So yeah, the camera does have image stabilization. It's not super great. It sort of just puts it back on par with what I'm used to with my Leicas, right? I have to be careful, and the camera is so light and small that it actually is, like, I feel like all the image stabilization it's doing is sort of making up for the fact that it's hard to hold this camera stable when you're shooting. But yeah, this is 1/10 of a second. And I even shot one after this that was 1/3 of a second of this exact same scene, and it was basically equally as sharp. But yeah, this car, of all the cars that we saw in this lot, this one had the best sounding engine. I told George, I said, don't breathe on it. And he took me literally here. The boys like this McLaren. It was a cool color, right? Convertible. All right, back to pictures of my wife. I really like this one. I think for her, she's like, why am I not showing my teeth? It's like super critical of her own smile, but I really like this. I like her smile. I really like the lighting. This is 1.9. And you can tell there is some softness to the background, and it, again, looks really good for this, like, dinky little lens. Right, this whole camera weighs 200 grams with the battery and the memory card. I think it was like 215 grams. And that is so tiny. Yeah, and again, right here, this is ISO 400. The colors are looking really good. It's 2.2, and sort of the way that the sharpness and the out of focus is all working together. It is a nice lens. They wanted these biz bombs, right? All right. This was also popular with bike riders, and my kids, we had to say no, right? Obviously, we're not getting them biz bombs. My wife really liked the colors on these cups. Well, I did too. So I took a couple of just the colors in this coffee shop. This is 2.5 ISO 400 again. Right, I sort of wish that I had almost gone 1.9 and maybe 200, but still, like, this looks good. The colors are good. The out of focus areas are nice. Yeah, same here, right? 2.5 ISO 400. That is my wife's little latte. My kids are trying it. And I'll say, as a coffee expert, people probably want to know what I thought of this place. The coffee was okay, which is sort of funny. It's like there's so much. They have everything's expensive. Everyone here has lots of money. Everyone here has fancy cars. Everything all their equipment is super fancy. But yeah, coffee was mediocre. Well, for a specialty coffee shop, right? This was like a little one-seater car, which was pretty fun. Getting my reflection practice going. Yeah, and you can actually sort of look through here, and there's like actually a lot of different cars in here. So something I rarely ever do is take pictures of my own food, right? But that's sort of what this camera encourages you to do. This is 1.9, f1.9, an impressive depth of field for 1.9. Again, all thanks to that little CCD sensor. Yeah, my son. Yeah, what he's probably going to remember most about this whole trip is that when we went out for breakfast this morning, Dad forgot to order his bacon, right? And I didn't want to have to wait in the line again, so I said, how about we get gelato instead? But I don't know that he'll remember the gelato, right? What he's going to remember is that I forgot to order his bacon. So, yeah, the coffee shop was by a beach. We get to see these big stumps. We found a cool little like tunnel walkway that somebody had made, and we followed it, and it led to here. And I like this photo. I like that Ellery's arm has this symmetry with the arm of whatever you call that thing. And the colors look good. I like the shadow on the right, but also this is again f1.9. This is wide open. So I definitely feel like I learned some things about this camera that if I was going to go on the trip again, right, I would shoot slower ISOs. I would have shot more open on the lens. Yeah. Oh, my kids, they had to go look at this Lamborghini, right? This was a convertible Lamborghini that they were like, Dad, please. Okay, we went to the fish hatchery because that was one of my favorite things to do when I lived there. Right, you avoid the expensive Kitsilano Bridge, and like half a mile up the river is a free fish hatchery, which has better hiking trails, and you get to see cool salmon. So here's my wife's reflection with like a sort of a scary looking salmon looking at her. Here the kids are watching the salmon jump up, right? The different levels of the water where they're gonna go have their babies. And I sort of managed to catch. I did an okay job here, right? This is the salmon. Like, look how high. I mean, it's not like, right? It's not barely clearing the jump. It's basically like flying through the air. So that's fun to watch the fish do that. But then outside the hatchery, right, you get like this heron that is totally just waiting for all the fish to be released so that it can just eat them. However, we watched it for a while, and it wasn't having a lot of success. It probably got its meal for the day, but the fish still stood a pretty good chance of being released. But you just felt bad, right? And it's like they're just getting released, and a heron's going to eat one of them. I can't recommend that you do this, right? But we're here at the fish hatchery, and we're walking down the stream, and I didn't really realize until after we had done it that they tell you not to do this because the dam can release, and if the dam releases, you are in the danger zone. But I doubt they've done that recently, and I don't think we were really at risk. But once I understood that, I was like, whoopsie. But we did have a fun time down here, and I love this one of my son Ellery taking off his sock, right? Because he wanted to get into the water. This is f4, and again, it's almost too flat. I wish I had taken this like a 1.9 or a 2.2. It's just the depth of field I'm getting on this thing is crazy. This is 2.8, right? And that's plenty of depth of field. The dog, this is my I have a different friend that we've met up with, and this is their dog. He was a very sweet dog, but right, with strangers, he was maybe not predictable. So he was muzzled with a I need space thing on. But once we got to know him, he was super sweet. My boys loved him. But yeah, one of my wife posing. All right, so now we're back to my friend's house where we're staying, and my son is enjoying the bathtub and with a juicy juice. So I thought that was fun. Okay, now we're swimming. We're going to swim in the bay. Found this cool little path, walking out to a good little swimming spot, and yeah, my family gets in. Now the bay is not known for being a great place to swim. It's a little bit on the chilly side. But yeah, there's my son Ellery submerged in the bay with like these giant ocean liners, and you can see the skyline of Vancouver pretty far away. But yeah, they swam. They had a really good time. You know, I like this portrait of George, but again, this was 4.5, and I wish I had shot more open. Although it was so bright, I didn't really see a shot. This is 2000, so I'm maxing out the shutter. It's ISO 100. I could have done 80. So yeah, I guess I didn't actually have much room to budge unless I had like an ND filter to add onto the front. But it's almost, the image is almost too flat, right? The sharpness is sort of the same everywhere. I love that the doggy here went and got this stick, right? Almost like playing fetch, and he brought it to shore. Right, I was not going to throw that back in the water for him. All right, my wife enjoying a locally made beer and enjoying some sun. Yeah. Snack time for my boys. And then this is, right, it's ISO 80, and it's only 3.2, and right, focus on my son here in the foreground. And the background's a little softer, just a touch, right? But good colors, a good example of the ISO 80. George giving Ellery a good booty smack. Right, they had a ton of fun here. And I like this one, right? My son Ellery, like running into the water, and or you get that Vancouver skyline, and sort of, an interesting foreground too. I just love like that, like his spirit to go do that. Right, it is chilly. It is chilly water. Right, you don't see a lot of other people swimming. Yeah, it's a nice picture of my wife. The colors look good. This was 6.3. I did find that after 6.3, diffraction sets in and things get less sharp. But up to 6.3, it holds pretty good. Uh, 16th of a second, 1.9. My son coming down the stairs. All right, my same son going up the rock. Right, again, this was fun to play on that rock. went out for a little sushi dinner with my friends that also lived in Vancouver, right? The ones with the dog. And also had a picture of Sapporo, which was fantastic. If you're ever at like an Asian restaurant and they have all the same typical Asian beers, right? Sapporo is a safe bet. This is unusual for Vancouver, right? This storm cloud, which it wasn't, right? I sort of darkened it a little bit to make it, the colors pop a little more. Right, this is a storm cloud, which was like, you don't really get, I don't know that I ever saw one of these when I lived there. But we got one that day, and we even got a little bit of a storm. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted the colors, right? I'm just taking photos, check out the colors on my new little digital camera. Looks pretty good. But here I really like this one. This is 1.9, and the background has like it's like a nice out of focus rendering. I don't mind that at all for a 28mm lens. And I really like the moment I've captured here, right? So this is one of my favorites from the trip. Well, I'll come back here. I mean, my Ellery looks a little tired, right? But that's, I like that I've captured that, right? He is a little tired and wants to be with his mom. And you even see even down there at the bottom, right? His hands, he's holding his mom's hand a little bit. And Barbara's just excited to go get ice cream, right? Right, this one I'm showing off that this is 1/15th of a second. So that's the image stabilization doing a pretty good job. We're leaving now. The trip's almost over, but we go back to that same coffee shop just to grab coffee and a pastry for the road. It's close to where we're staying. This is f3.2 at ISO 400, and again, the colors are looking really good. I do think, after looking at a bunch of examples that, preferred the colors maybe at 80 and 100 and 200, but plenty happy at 400 and mostly happy at 800 too. It's, I'd probably avoid 800 unless I really needed it. But yeah, this was my favorite car that if I got to pick one to keep, I would have picked this one. All right, we have left. We are now in America. We went to visit a good friend in Bellingham. All right, this is just sort of me doing me things. This is our friend's house. They got this nice, pride flag. My boys, again, having a good time together, right? Right, I like their shirt, the colors, and this was actually, looking at the date, was a fairly recent event. Their chickens, this is more just me playing with the camera, right? 1.9 ISO 400, 1/2000th of a second. Now I will show you a little bit, if I come in here, occasionally I get these little specks, right? And I take that to be, I don't think those are like dead pixels. I think there's like dirt on the sensor, and I've read that that's pretty common, right? This is a 15-year-old digital camera that's not totally weather sealed. right? And it's not really I only occasionally see them. It's a pretty minor thing, but yeah, it's almost just sort of like finding occasional dust on your negatives. And we're almost to the end. I like this one of my son running across the street. Slow playground time. Portrait with our friend. And then yeah, we're totally back in America. The Vancouver fun times are over. We're in a interstate rest stop. My wife thinks this one's weird, but I like it. And then yeah, Ellery is tuckered out. This is ISO 800 1.9, and I think it looks pretty good. This is a good example of 800. In Seattle, I accidentally exited Seattle, and so we went and got some lunch there. I like that George's reflection is here. And yeah, we went to Wajimaya because it was 1 block away from where we accidentally ended up. And, just had to take some pictures in an interesting grocery store. And I had enough. My kids are shopping long enough where I start to have time to go putz around and pretend to be a photographer. This is 400 and sort of some nasty artificial lighting. It looks pretty good. My kids loading up. Now, this is mostly for their friends, right? They're getting gifts to take back to give to their friends who were taking care of our animals. I sort of like, it says Yummy House, and he's carrying a soft serve ice cream, and his mom in that nice green dress. And this is the last photo. Kind of fitting. My boys with their butterfly wings. This is in Seattle. So, all right, that's a wrap. Take care.